But what about his free speech rights to post it if he wants to, if it's legal?
Well, that's a whole other thing. I think with X and pornography, there needs to be some kind of middle ground where, if it's going to be on X, there needs to be a way where it's not necessarily on the main feed, but that's a whole other
So you
discussion.
agree with censorship, don't you, Myron? I mean, for all your chat on Twitter to me yesterday, you actually agree with it.
To compare censorship of pornography to censorship on political speech or
so you think saying that you should treat Jews like slaves and whip them, or bitches deserve to be slapped, that is not, or try to sell a T-shirt of a domestic crime being committed, you think none of those things are worse than posting legal pornography?
Yeah, I find it interesting that you're, harping on this, but there's people that monetize murder and death all the time in the hip hop industry.
So Kanye West recently made the news when he went on a Twitter tirade this past weekend, tweeting out a whole bunch of stuff on X and then deleting his own account. Well, this has sparked a lot of controversy. A lot of people are talking about it, and Piers Morgan is going to take this time to lecture us about the First Amendment and what speech is included in the First Amendment. Because, if I'm going to listen to anyone talk about the First Amendment, it's definitely going to be a British guy.
The right to express ideas and opinions without fear of censorship or sanction. It applies equally to speech, which many consider deeply offensive. In fact, that's arguably when it's most important. Otherwise, the loudest and most powerful voices have total control over ideas, and they have the ability to crush dissent. But there are limits to free speech, even under the First Amendment. There is no First Amendment right to share child pornography, threaten individuals, or incite violence. Rapper Ye, hereafter, I'm going to call him Kanye West. I'm done with calling him Ye. Unleashed a wild flood of anti-Semitic posts on X this weekend. He was misogynist, he was racist, he was frankly disgusting. He talked about violence against women, he talked about violence against Jewish people and enslaving them, he talked about loving Hitler, he talked about white people and Jewish people who are different and the Jews are always going to steal. Now, whether this endless vile tirade was tantamount to incitement of violence against Jewish people is, I guess, open to debate. He certainly wanted people to think.
Keep that in mind. I guess it's open to debate. I guess. So he's not even completely sure if this is going to translate into violence against Jews, but he's going to act like it for the rest of this debate.
Disparaging of them, if not hate them. I would argue that identifying as a Nazi alone implies that, maybe he shares a mindset of people who literally exterminated millions of Jews. Not to mention his statement that you have to put Jews in their place and make them into your slaves. Something that he then followed up with this. He said, Jews were better as slaves. You have to put Jews in their place and make them into your slaves. He then said, sometimes you have to do it like the pharaohs. Make your Jews work for you, but watch them as close as you can. Whip your Jews. Whip your Jews as you treat them like slaves. What does that mean? Is that ambiguous? Is that freedom?
Yes, actually, it is freedom of speech. I actually thought that tweet was hilarious. I don't agree with it, by the way. I'm not saying, he's right on that. Based Kanye. No. I don't agree with it. But it's funny, it's so outrageous. And I've been making a few videos about the left understanding comedy and how people don't understand comedy. Well, this is one of the things where it's just some people just don't understand what's funny. We all know Kanye West doesn't have any Jews locked up in his house that he's whipping or abusing in some way. We all know this is not going on. I mean, at least as far as we know, that's not what's going on. But I'm pretty sure if it was, we would find out about it eventually. And he definitely wouldn't just be, if he was doing something like that, he wouldn't just be open about it on X. So this outrage is ridiculous, but it gets more ridiculous, as you'll see.
Or is that a clarion call to commit acts of violence against Jewish people? What seems crystal clear is that Kanye West was in clear violation of X's own rules on hateful conduct. The platform under Elon Musk has suspended more than 5 million accounts since he took over. It censored Kanye's account yesterday as not suitable for work when he posted legal pornography. And Musk has previously banned Kanye West entirely for posting a swastika interlaced with the Star of David, which he said was an incitement to violence. So why was Kanye allowed to spend the whole weekend unloading shocking abuse on Jewish people before apparently leaving voluntarily? And more broadly, just what the hell is going on with this idiot? Well, joining me now to debate all this, host of the Fresh and Fit podcast, Myron Gaines, the rapper and podcaster Zuby, America's rabbi and author of Holocaust Holiday, Rabbi Shmuley Boteach, and the commentator and YouTuber Choke No Joke. Okay, let me start, Myron, because you and I got into a little Twitter exchange yesterday about free speech. And it seems to me, with Kanye and this tirade that's went on for days, there are two debates to be had. One is whether what he was doing was contrary to X's own rules by the same definition that they have suspended millions of accounts. And I posted a graph showing why people got suspended, a lot of it for harassment, hateful conduct, and so on. So I think there's literally no dispute or doubt that he did. So the question remains, why was he then not suspended, but able to leave voluntarily? But the wider debate that I think you and I were having was about freedom of speech and where that begins and ends. I don't want to put words in your mouth, but you seem to be suggesting that you don't think there is an end. In other words, you can say absolutely anything you want, to which I would say, well, I don't think you should be able to say to 32 million people on a platform that you want to make Jewish people your slaves and whip them. Do you?
Well, I think the thing is, when Elon took over X, he wanted to mirror it with the First Amendment. And the First Amendment allows a broad range of speech to be allowed. And the reality is, if we don't have free speech, we don't have a democracy. And that's literally from Elon Musk himself. Now, we want to talk about unequal punishment on X, based on some people saying this and getting punished and people saying this and not getting punished. That's a whole other conversation. But I think if you're going to mirror the First Amendment with Twitter, then you need to allow that speech in.
Right, but look, on the first point about X's rules, he clearly transgressed pretty much every rule they have. I think that's unarguable. So it's for Elon to explain why in the end he was only censored, which he was, because he posted legal pornography. It seems to me extraordinary that legal pornography is deemed to be more offensive and more worthy of censorship than saying that you should make Jews your slaves and whip them. So let me bring in on that Zuby. You and I have debated free speech many times, but on that specific
Zuby, another British guy. Yeah, two British guys discussing the First Amendment. Yeah, this should be rich. I don't know if Elon Musk deleted any. He didn't ban Ye for any of the corn tweets. I don't know if he deleted any of the tweets. It's weird if he did, because corn is allowed on X. It's not against the terms of service. But I guess they're saying he flagged it for not being safe for work. I don't know what that means. I don't know if that means they're hidden or whatnot. But yeah, sharing corn like that, I believe, is more offensive than pretty much any of the things that Ye posted. And by the way, I don't agree with everything Ye posted, okay? I'm not sitting here going, yeah, everything he posted is fine, I agree with it. No, I don't. But the argument is, should he be allowed to say it? And in my opinion, yeah, he should be allowed to say these things.
I mean, do you view the publication of legal pornography on X as better or worse than what he said about making Jews slaves and whipping them?
If I'm being honest, I think it's all bad. I don't think that hardcore pornography should be on X. If I'm being honest, it's not on any other social media platform. And a big reason for that is because kids use these platforms. And if you've got that many followers and you start posting pornography, then naturally you're going to get some minors seeing it. And so that in itself is a problem. When it comes to inciting violence or calling for violence, I think it's fair to say that he did cross that line. I mean, if you're saying to whip a certain race or ethnic group of people, whether he's pretending, and you've got the wider context of everything he's been saying beyond that, you'd have to go through it post by post. I think a lot of them, vast majority of them, I'm not a fan of. I would condemn what he's saying, but I would support his right to free speech. But when it comes up to the point of calling for violence, which he did in that specific one that you brought up, then yeah, that's a clear violation. I don't run X. I'm not Elon. I'm not a moderator, so I'm not in charge of that. I'm a very staunch advocate for freedom of speech.
Yeah.
But yeah, there is a line.
It sounds like you share my view. I mean,
how about this? Keep your kids off of social media. I have a rule in my house. None of our kids are allowed to have social media. When they turn 18, obviously, they're allowed to have social media if they want because they'll be adults. But until then, no social media. If you're letting your kids have an account on X, yeah, you're doing something wrong.
Bringing in the rabbi here. I mean, Rabbi,
So this is Rabbi Shmuley. I've heard a lot about this dude. He was the guy that was feuding with Candace Owens after the thing she said about Jewish people. Everything I've seen from this guy seems like he's a freaking wacko, but let's hear what he has to say.
I'm not. I'm an Irish Catholic. If I was Jewish, I'd have been utterly sickened by the constant tirade of blatantly anti-Semitic garbage that was being spewed by Kanye West. How are you feeling?
First of all, you're an honorary Jew because you've really supported Israel through this war, and we're grateful, Piers. Tolerating the intolerable is the liberalism of fools. You can speak about being a free speech absolutist, but there must be three exceptions: incitement to violence, commission of violence, and admission of violence. What's missing from this discussion is not that Kanye said that Jews should be whipped. It's that Kanye said that he has beaten women, and he said that women should be slapped. And his wife is in an abusive relationship. And Bianca Censori's family, who live in Melbourne, Australia, have done nothing to rescue her. Are we talking about whether there should be pornography on X? There was pornography at the Grammys. Professional lip readers had him tell his wife, Bianca Censori, take your mink coat off, and she is totally glassy-eyed. There is no free agency.
So this is where context matters, because yes, if you say that, people are going to be like, oh my God, I can't believe you say that. And this is why free speech is important, because sometimes some things like that need to be said. This is what I mean. We're so afraid to say something like that because we don't want to be seen as misogynistic, or that we hate women, or that we're pro spousal abuse or domestic abuse or something like that. Now, obviously, I don't think Kanye meant, yay, listen, if your woman, just talks back to you or something, or hey, if your woman doesn't have dinner ready for you when you want it, the way that you like it, sometimes they deserve to be slapped. I don't think that's what he meant. Now, if he's talking about the context of, yeah, listen, there are some times where women like to pick fights with men, or wives like to pick fights with their husband and get aggressive and abusive. I have seen videos online where girls are picking fights with men, talking smack to men, getting up in their face, pushing them, getting really aggressive, and then the men have to do something like slap them or punch them down. If he's talking about that, I don't see what's so wrong about saying that. When someone says that, we think of the domestic abuse victim. But sometimes we're talking about women who are just a-holes, because there are women a-holes out there. If you were to post sometimes a man needs to be slapped, no one would have an issue with it. And we wouldn't obviously think of the domestic abuse victim, but when we say women being slapped, then people get all up in arms. Sometimes people in general, sometimes a person needs to be slapped. Bottom line, man or woman.
And he says he slaps her around, and he says that he has practiced violence against women. Where are the
tweets that he said he slaps Bianca around, or that he's abusive against women? Where does he say that? The only thing I saw was the whole sometimes a B word needs to be slapped around. That's not an admission that he beats his wife.
Enforcement. Why hasn't he been arrested? Why hasn't there been an investigation? Where is the rest of Hollywood and the Grammys to condemn violence against women? The two most targeted victim groups in history are Jews and women. And notice that Kanye, the ultimate bully, goes after both. And let me say one final thing. I utterly reject any belief that Kanye is sick. He is not. He is wicked. There's a big difference. He knows when to turn it off. At the Grammys, he was completely normal. He wasn't there naked in any way. It was all about his wife. He didn't lose it. He said, you're going to get a lot of attention. Everything he does is willful. It is motivated by a desire for attention, building his businesses. He is not crazy. That is an excuse. He is wicked and he is evil.
Yeah, I mean, I would add to this, choke, no joke, that one of the most offensive things he did for me in his defense of Diddy, for example, he suddenly produced a T-shirt which was a scene from the hotel lobby or the corridor where Diddy had beaten up one of his girlfriends, and it had her in the picture, right? This was literally a crime scene of appalling domestic abuse that we all saw the video, and he's trying to sell a T-shirt based on it. Now, that alone, to me, crossed any kind of line that should be tolerable for social media.
Yeah, well, first of all, how you doing, Piers? Thanks for having me back.
Good to see you.
All right. Like the rabbi said, Kanye is just doing all this for attention. He's not the topic of discussion in hip hop no more. The Super Bowl was going on. It was Kendrick's moment. He's trying to steal his shine because it's not about him. It's about Kendrick and Drake right now. And he is an embarrassment to the black man. He is a pure embarrassment to the black community. 97% of us don't approve of what he's doing. He's disrespectful to women. I promise you, no disrespect to the Caucasian woman, but if that was a strong, sophisticated Black woman, she would not have took her clothes off on that red carpet to satisfy Kanye chasing clout, which is fame or the spotlight. And I know Kanye. I was there the day he got signed at Rockefeller. I met his mother. I've been in his apartment. I know the humble Kanye that fame, once he's allegedly sold his soul to this game, he became this dark person. And what, like the rabbi said, what he's doing is very evil. I don't think that that's freedom of speech, what he's doing. That can incite a riot, that can incite a hate attack on the Jewish community. And all he's doing it for is attention. There's nothing wrong with him. He's just mad because he's not relevant right now.
You know what? I agree. In fact, when I interviewed him at length over a year ago, you know, he categorically denied that he had any mental illness. And I also asked him if he had any regrets, because he'd been through a storm about abusing Jewish people before, about saying he wanted to go DEFCON 3, DEATH, DEFCON 3 on Jewish people. And I asked him if he regretted it. Let's see what he said. You've now changed what you wanted to say originally. My question for you is, do you now regret saying DEFCON 3 on Jewish people? Are you sorry you said that?
No.
I think it matters. You should be.
Absolutely not.
When you insult the Jewish people and say you're going DEFCON 3 on the Jewish people, that is as racist as anything you say you've been through and any pain that you've experienced. It's the same thing. Racism is racism. And you know that, I think, don't you?
Yeah, obviously. That's why I said it.
So you said it knowing it's racist?
Yes. I fought fire with fire.
Okay.
I'm not here to get hosed down.
At least that's
It's a
honest.
different type of freedom fighter. I will say I'm sorry for the people that I hurt with the DEFCON, the confusion that I call. I feel like I cause hurt and confusion. And I'm sorry for the families of the people that had nothing to do with the trauma that I had been through, and that I use my platform where you say hurt people, and I was hurt.
But the truth is, he wasn't sorry about the hurt. Otherwise, he wouldn't have carried on doing it for the last 3 days. And just to bring you back, Marin, if I can.
He's back to gaining attention, and I guarantee you there's some music coming down the pipeline.
Right.
That's why he's doing this.
Yeah, it's attention seeking for personal gain. Marin, let me bring you back in, because yesterday when you were getting into it with me about what you perceive to be censorship, you said, why the fuck are you calling for censorship when you have a show called Uncensored? The hypocrisy is incredible. But I was calling for a censorship of blatant, threatening violence in the language, abuse of Jewish people and of women, including trying to market a T-shirt based around an incident of criminal domestic abuse. Surely you would agree with that censorship, wouldn't you?
No, I don't believe in censorship. I think, context matters, and it's very obvious that, he's doing this as a marketing plug. I mean, look, we're talking about it right now, so he's done a fantastic job. He had a commercial with the Super Bowl. He's the talk of the town right now. He's basically stolen the attention from Kendrick Lamar. Some people here are trying to say that Kendrick is more relevant than Kanye when it comes to hip hop, but he's stolen the attention. How? From really smart marketing. Now, with that said, I don't think anyone's ability to speak should ever be censored. Now, do I like everything that he says? No, but I'm going to fight for his ability to say it. I also think it's important to note that sarcasm and humor and making jokes is a part of what he was saying. Is he really going to run around and slap women? No. Obviously, he's being sarcastic, he's being funny, he's being edgy. And I think that's important because we need people like that pushing the envelope so we could protect free speech.
But he was literally trying to sell a T-shirt which had imagery of his friend Diddy, his new friend apparently, because they fell out, his friend Diddy involved in a criminal act of abuse against a woman. Literally, that's what he was doing.
Yeah, I mean, it's America.
Well, hang on one second. Just to be clear, though, Marin. Just to be clear, Marin, you think that was acceptable?
Again, capitalism is capitalism. Do I agree with it? Do I like it? Maybe not. However, I will support his ability to do it because he's obviously marketing things. He thinks maybe he has some dark humor that he wants to do where he thought that was funny. But the reality is that this is America and capitalism is a thing here.
So when Elon Musk, hang on one second. I'll come to all of you. So when, just to be clear, Myron, when Elon Musk replied yesterday to someone on X and said that he was now being censored for the legal pornography that he was posting, did you agree with that?
Well, I don't like pornography, but again, it is legal. There's a 3-part test in America with the Miller test to see if it suffices. And, you can make the argument that, it didn't cause any issues as far as...
So Elon was wrong to censor him?
With pornography?
Yes.
Well, again, I don't like porn. I don't think it should be on X at all, personally.
Okay, so you agree with censorship?
For pornography.
Right, but just to be clear, you agree with censorship?
No, I agree with pornography not being on X. I think it needs to be contained in a certain way.
But it's legal.
Gonna be on...
It was legal what he was posting?
Yeah, I mean, like I said before, I don't have to like it or agree with it.
But what about his free speech rights to post it, if he wants to, if it's legal?
Well, that's a whole other thing. I think with X and pornography, there needs to be some kind of middle ground where, if it's going to be on X, there needs to be a way where it's not necessarily on the main feed, but that's a whole other
So you agree with
discussion.
censorship, don't you, Myron? I mean, for all your chat on Twitter to me yesterday, you actually agree with it.
To compare censorship of pornography to censorship on political speech or
so you think saying that you should treat Jews like slaves and whip them, or bitches deserve to be slapped, that is not, or try to sell a T-shirt of a domestic crime being committed, you think none of those things are worse than posting legal pornography?
Yeah, I find it interesting that you're, harping on this, but there's people that monetize murder and death all the time in the hip hop industry. There's people that
I don't agree with that either.
Well, I'm sorry?
I don't agree with that either.
Exactly. You don't have to agree with it for it to happen or for it to be allowed.
No, I'm curious why you think only the pornography, which was legal, to be clear, should be censored. You didn't think any of the other stuff should be. What's the difference?
Pornography and political speech? Completely different.
No, pornography and saying that Jews should be whipped and treated as slaves.
Well, that's speech. I mean, if he wants to say that, you know what I mean? I don't have to agree with it, but I think if he wants to say that, he should be able to say that. I mean...
So again, consenting adults having sex and posting that is not acceptable, but treating Jews or saying Jews should be slaves and be whipped, that is acceptable for you?
Speech... You cannot conflate speech with pornography, Piers.
Why
I see
not?
what you're trying to do.
Why not?
They're not the same whatsoever.
Why aren't they the same thing?
No, they're not.
Why not?
No,
Explain why the difference.
Because in order to allow speech in, you need to allow all speech in so that people can come in and be able to have ideas, right? We need to get
What's wrong with people having sex?
But if you're going to go ahead and say, oh, yeah, let's go ahead and conflate that with pornography. Well, there's nothing really to debate there, any real discourse that could be had with pornography of watching people have sex. It's not the same whatsoever. And to try to conflate the two is ridiculous.
Why? One is legal and the other one is actually illegal. To treat people like slaves and whip them would be illegal. Actually, legal pornography is legal.
No,
so you're in favor of censoring something that's legal, but you're not in favor of censoring something that's illegal. I find that fascinating.
Yeah. Him saying that is actually protected under the First Amendment. Hate speech
actually,
is protected under...
That's the point. It's not.
Yes, it is. Piers is being utterly annoying right here, and he's trying to get Myron in this gotcha of like, oh, well, you're pro censoring corn on there. Well, you're a hypocrite, so you are censorship. As far as I know, corn isn't protected underneath the First Amendment. I know there's a lot of debates on there. You could sound off in the comment section below whether you think corn is protected underneath the First Amendment or not. But Piers Morgan is trying to feign outrage, like, oh my God, he's saying these horrible things. But here's the thing, whether you agree with the corn or not, whether you agree with the statements about Ye or not, here's the cool part, you don't have to follow Ye. You could block him and you don't have to view his tweets. That's the cool part about X. If you don't like it, you don't have to look at it. And what's funny is that Piers right here, this stuff is so dangerous, right? This is so harmful, but yet Piers is showing the tweets on the screen. But he's not showing the corn videos that Ye shared. He's not showing the corn. Gee, it's almost as if he knows that one is worse than the other, but he's trying to, I don't know what he's trying to do here.
Even though you don't know enough about your own First Amendment. I seem to know more than you. Although, just to be clear, I have a house in America. When I come to America, like anyone who comes to America, you are automatically protected by the First Amendment as well.
Matters.
Right? So I know a lot about the First
matters.
Amendment. The First Amendment actually bans a lot of things, including incitement to violence, incitement to violent hatred. It
Anyone that
prohibits
was
them.
looking at the tweets, right? Anyone that was looking
Violent hatred. It doesn't ban a violent hatred. What does that even mean? It's protecting your speech. How is speech violent hatred? Speech isn't violent. I could say whatever I want to a person. That person's all of a sudden not going to be like, oh, and like fall down and be needed to take to the hospital.
that has any level of common sense understands that it's dark humor, understands he's trolling, it's marketing. He doesn't really mean
nothing funny about it at all. Let me bring in Zuby. You've been watching very intently, Zuby. I mean, look, I think what we've just established with Myron, with respect to him, is that when you try and be a free speech absolutist, it gets very complicated very quickly. Because I can't for the life of me, and maybe you can articulate it better, but I can't for the life of me understand why Elon Musk, with his action yesterday, censors the legal pornography. And by the way, I agree with him. He should have done that. But that he doesn't censor any of the blatantly illegal things that Kanye was spewing, notably the fact that you should treat Jews like slaves and whip them. That is actually a crime in America, to encourage people to do that, to incite that level of. Well, hang on, Myron. I'm going to Zuby here. It seems to me that once you get into absolutism about this, it just gets complicated very fast.
Yeah, you're right. Look, it does get complicated. And the reality is that different people have different lines. Different nations have different lines. Every single country has different laws when it comes to freedom of speech, freedom of expression, even things that are graphic, visual things like pornography and so on. Some people will say that falls under freedom of speech. Some people will say that it doesn't. Going beyond that, though, this is all happening on a platform. And social media platforms have the right to set their boundaries where they want the boundaries to be. On Facebook and YouTube, for example, you absolutely cannot post pornography in any form. However, on X/Twitter, for whatever reason, throughout its entire history, they have allowed that. A lot of people oppose it, but for whatever reason, they let that go. So the truth is, ultimately, we can discuss the First Amendment, we can discuss laws in different countries, but I think in this particular case, the question is really about X and the X policies and what is enforced and what is not enforced and what crosses the line and what doesn't. I would absolutely say, look, I don't even think I saw every single thing that Kanye posted. I don't use X on Sundays. But from what I saw, the vast majority of the posts were certainly egregious, but they didn't cross a line outside of what is within the bounds of the First Amendment. When it gets to something like calling for violence, I think that's pretty clear cut.
Yeah.
So from what I saw, there were probably like 3 or 4 tweets.
Yeah.
Maybe two, somewhere between 2 to 4 tweets that crossed that line. So I'm not going to sit here and defend Kanye. I will defend the principle of free speech. Like Myron said, I don't think that pornography should be on X anyway. I think that's a whole separate conversation. So I think I can say that I think a lot of what he said was wrong, and I can be very critical of it. But the vast majority of it, I would not say is ban-worthy. However, there were a couple posts where he did cross the lines, and it's up to X how and when they enforce that.
Yeah, and Rabbi Shmuley, I would say that I'm a big fan of Elon Musk, and I'm a big fan of his free speech.
I think the Democrats have done a lot more incitement to violence than anything Kanye West tweeted over the weekend. And yet none of them are being arrested. And yet I'm more outraged by what they have to say than anything that Kanye West tweeted over the weekend. So why are we sitting here having this big old debate about what Kanye has to say? Why is everyone so outraged by that guy? Listen, again, I'm not a fan of everything he had to say over the weekend. And yes, I disagree with him on the Diddy stuff. I disagree with him on the Jew stuff. I disagree with him on a lot, but I'm not sitting here outraged by it like everyone else is. Why is this such a big deal? And if you guys, everyone's sitting here saying, well, he's mentally ill, or, oh, he's doing this for attention, which, yeah, I think partially, yes, a lot of this is for attention. But if we know that, if we know he's either just being an edgelord or if he's mentally ill, why are we sitting here debating this then? Why are we taking this so damn seriously?
Defense, which I think he's been very proactive in. But I think he's discovered it is very complicated sometimes, because there's no doubt to me that if any ordinary person had been spewing what Kanye was spewing, they'd have been suspended very quickly, as they would be on any social media platform. And what struck me as astonishing, I even directly posted to Elon saying, can you please do something about this? This guy.
Well, Piers Morgan, can you please do something about this? Oh my goodness, my block button, it doesn't work. Can you please? What a freaking wiener Piers Morgan is. Going to Elon Musk, please, can you do something about the big evil Kanye West? He's tweeting mean things. My eyes, they can't handle it. I can't. They can't. I'm sitting here, I'm literally shaking. What a freaking wang.
Doing this with utter impunity and quite deliberately testing your limits of what free speech are. And the truth is, there are limits. That's why the First Amendment has limits to it. You know, and that's why you've got to have some limits. Otherwise, people do what Kanye West did, which, by the way, he was doing it to 32 million people, Rabbi Shmuley. So 32 million people were seeing a very high-profile rap star boasting about being a Nazi, boasting about loving Hitler, boasting about wanting to, or ordering people, instructing.
Oh my goodness, 32 million victims of Kanye West's tweeting tirade. 32 million victims. I know he didn't say the word, but that's how he's acting. 32 million victims, 32 million people saw this. It was broadcasted. 32 million people. Oh, the horror. Oh, Lord. Oh, not 32 million people.
To make Jews be their slaves and whip them, saying that bitches deserve to get slapped, trying to sell T-shirts with domestic crimes on them. All of this I thought was just completely outrageous, and not a matter of free speech, but a matter of somebody literally spewing violent and criminal rhetoric.
I also like Elon Musk, and I'm very grateful to him for having gone to Israel right after the October 7th attacks, being escorted by the Prime Minister of Israel himself, Benjamin Netanyahu, to see the women that were raped, that were beheaded, families that were burnt alive. I was there 1 week after the attacks as well. But I also agree with you that this is absolutely unacceptable. I saw your tweet, Pierce, and that's why I wanted to come on the show. You know, Zuby, and wait, just a second. Zuby and Myron, you seem like very decent guys.
Myron, you can respond when he's finished talking.
Let me, please, let me speak. I believe respectfully that this interview will live in shame for the two of you for the duration of your careers. Am I really hearing, first of all, from you, Myron, that he was joking when he said he beats up women? Ha ha, I beat my wife, Bianca, and that's funny? What is funny about beating up a woman? What is funny about threatening violence against a people who in the lifetime of my mother were gassed at a rate of 10,000 a day and turned into ash? This interview, respectfully, will be on your highlight career, living in infamy. It is not funny to murder 1.5 million children. It is not funny to rampage through the Jewish community surrounding Gaza, beheading Jews and non-Jews, including Thai workers with spades. I saw their beheaded bodies. For God's sake, there's real consequences to this hate. There used to be an alliance between the black and Jewish communities, knowing that we were hated for no reason other than the fact that we were different. I ask you, Zuby, you believe in free speech completely? If I'm David Duke and I'm saying, you know, in 1964 in Birmingham, Alabama, we blew up churches, the Klan, and we burned 4 young black girls alive. Let's go do it again. Let's organize it. Sunday, this coming Sunday, 3 o'clock, we're going to burn those black girls alive. And you're going to say, well, he has a right to say, give me a break. What you're going to say is that this man is a disgusting, filthy, excuse me, a disgusting, filthy racist. Now, wait, now just a second.
Go for it.
Kanye did not incite violence. He confessed to violence. He said, I beat up women. And Myron, who the heck are you to say that he didn't mean it? Do you have evidence? You mean he's lying and you're telling the truth? We saw what happened with Diddy. And by the way, the only person here with any dignity in this debate is Choke No Joke, who's saying that this is offensive to black men. Do you guys not understand this is feeding every stereotype of black rappers. I love the black community. The greatest American of the 20th century was Martin Luther King, who died so that people could have dignity. But that's not what a lot of people think. A lot of people think that rappers are into using the word B-I-T-C-H-E-S, and Kanye says, I'm a billionaire. And Choke No Joke comes along and says, this is offensive to the stereotypes of black men. And it is. And you guys are frickin' defending this. I want to be clear. I'm sick of anti-Semitism. I'm sick of racism. There are white racists, nationalists who hate black people. Some of them are around President Trump, even though I think he's a great friend of the black community, but he has those voices. We have Tucker Carlson. Tucker Carlson, he denies the Holocaust, and yet he's in the president's ear. He denies the Holocaust.
All right,
please, stop defending hatred.
Okay, I want to come to Choke No Joke in a moment, but I think it's only fair and right that I go to both the people you've just spray gunned and get them to respond. So, Myron, your response to Rabbi Shmuley.
Yeah, again, I find it incredible that he's over here so critical of Kanye West, right? About, oh, he beats his wife, whatever. Meanwhile, you're walking around with a war criminal that's killed hundreds of thousands of innocent people, bombed them indiscriminately, etc. I find it very interesting that you're so hardcore on Twitter about some tweets that may or may not have been a joke, more than likely a joke. Anyone that has common sense, sarcasm, dark humor, etc., versus you're running around with someone that's literally a war criminal wanted by the ICC that's killed tens of thousands of innocent children, right? And then you're over here calling for censorship. I'm tired of anti-Semitism. I'm tired of racism. People like you are the fucking problem, because here's the thing. Americans are tired of censorship. We're tired of being browbeat into being virtue signaling losers like you, who always sit there and try to rage people and say, oh, you go ahead and you provoke problems with people. I've literally seen you do this. You go up to people, you provoke them, and they tell you fuck off, and then you get mad and you yell anti-Semitism. Quite literally, what I want to hear is this. Rabbi Shmuley, until you can actually call people liars for what they say, no one cares about anti-Semitism anymore. You guys run around, use it for everything. We're tired of it. Stop trying to browbeat us and virtue signal saying, oh, that's anti-Semitic. How about this? When you can call someone a liar for what they're saying, then we'll start taking you more seriously. Other than that, you're fucking dildo rabbi.
All right, Zuby, your
Damn. See, this is what I'm talking about. Based Myron Gaines over here, I was actually rather impressed. I didn't think I was going to side with him the most out of this whole panel. I don't listen to Fresh and Fit, and any clips that I see of Fresh and Fit is usually from YouTuber Too Lazy to Try videos, or he just looks like an absolute maniac. But no, this is actually very base take. I think he's the only sensible one here, saying, listen, I don't agree with what everything Kanye does. I don't agree with everything Kanye said over the weekend. However, I defend his right to say it. And that's what this is about. And listen, I know a lot of people don't like Kanye or think he's this or that. And yes, sometimes as a Kanye fan, it gets hard to defend him sometimes. I got to admit. However, one thing that I will say, though, is that I do respect the heck out of him for going out there and tweeting these wild things, because it does lead to conversations like this. And these are very important conversations to have, because it shows me the fact that it's 2025 and we're still having panels like these where a bunch of wieners and wangs over here are freaking crying and complaining about things that Kanye West said, when there's much more important things that we should be talking about and debating here. It shows that there's still a lot of work to do, and a lot of people are afraid to speak because they're afraid they're going to get canceled. They're afraid they're going to get ostracized. And like Myron said, we're tired of being browbeaten. We're tired of these wieners and wangs over here feigning outrage over some words said on Twitter. So you may not like what Kanye had to say. You may not like Kanye as a person, but you got to admit, he has some massive balls to go on there and tweet a lot of the stuff that he said. And if we want to fix this culture here of pretending that we're outraged over these silly words, we should be defending his right to say these things. So yeah, I thought Myron did a good job. Piers Morgan looking like an absolute fool. I bet you I'm sure a lot of people in my comment section are going to be pointing out what a freaking absolute ass Piers Morgan was on here. And I'm looking forward to it. But what did you guys think about the rest of this? Sound off in the comment section below. Subscribe to my channel if you enjoyed today's video. If you did enjoy today's video, I got more goodies for you on the screen to click away and enjoy.